Fear of Failure. I'm reading a book by John C. Maxwell called Failing Forward, Turning Mistakes into Stepping Stones for Success. This is the chapter called It Hurts Too Much to Laugh, Chapter 4. You're too old to cry, but it hurts too much to laugh. I will read about the fear cycle. This might just change your life. Feel free to share this video. Here we go. Take a look at what typically happens to someone who is unable to overcome the fear of failure and gets caught in the fear cycle. Prior negative experiences cause the person to develop a fear of failure that starts the cycle. For example, let's say someone experienced failure as a child trying to sell candy door to door to raise money for school. Later, as an adult, he or she is put in a situation that seems similar. Damn, I can't read. And fear strikes. Whether they are a salesperson where they need to make calls on customers, or a pastor with a mission to visit people in their homes, that old childhood failure may generate fear. The fear of rejection creates inaction. Because the person doesn't act, they don't gain personal experience in that situation, which is the key to learning and overcoming future obstacles. The fear of rejection creates inaction. Because the person doesn't act, they don't gain any experience in that situation, which is the key to learning and overcoming future obstacles. The lack of experience breeds an inability to handle similar situations. The inexperience breeds an inability to handle similar situations. Sometimes I like to read the sentence over and say it in a different way. It helps me learn it better. And that ultimately feeds and increases the fear. The longer the fear remains unchecked, the harder a person has to work to break the cycle. Here is that cycle, the fear cycle. Let's start with fear. Inaction, which leads to inexperience, which leads to inability, which creates more fear. It's a cycle you don't want to ride. Fear of failure stops forward progress. The inaction that results when people are stuck in the fear cycle takes on many forms. Here are the three most common ones I've observed. Number 1, paralysis. For some people, fear of failure brings about absolute paralysis. They stop trying to do anything that might lead to failure. President Harry S. Truman offered this opinion: the worst danger we face is the danger of being paralyzed by doubts and fears. This danger is brought on by those who abandon faith and sneer at hope. It is brought on by those who spread cynicism and distrust and try to blind us to the great chance to do good for all mankind. People whose fear paralyzes them give up any hope of moving forward. Let's read that again. The worst danger we face. I'll do a little trick. I'll replace we or I with you. This might hit you harder. This is a little marketing technique because you're only thinking about yourself. The worst danger you face is the danger of being paralyzed by doubts and fear. This danger is brought on by those who abandon faith and sneer at hope. It is brought on when you spread cynicism and distrust, and you try to blind yourself to the great chance to do good for all mankind. I don't know. People whose fear paralyzes them give up any hope of moving forward. Procrastination. Damn wind. Other people technical brush difficulties here. This is embarrassing. Get that brush. Hold this paper down. Procrastination. Other people maintain the hope of progress, but never get around to following through. Someone once called procrastination the fertilizer that makes difficulties grow. Victor Kaim stated it even more strongly. He called it opportunity's natural assassin. Procrastination steals a person's time, productivity, and potential. As the great and late President John F. Kennedy said, quote, we'll read this twice. There are risks and costs to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range risks and costs of comfortable inaction. Let's read that again. Say it with me. There are risks and costs to a program of action, but there are far less than the long-range risks and cost of comfortable inaction. Procrastination is too high a price to pay for fear of failure. Number 3. Now this one I like a lot. Purposelessness. Tom Peters, co-author of In Search of Excellence, emphasizes that there's nothing more useful than someone who comes to the end of the day. Tom Peters, co-author of In Search of Excellence, emphasizes that there's nothing more useless than someone who comes to the end of the day and congratulates themselves, saying, well, I made it through the day without screwing up. Yet that's what many people who fear failure do. Rather than pursue worthy objectives, they avoid the pain of making mistakes. And in the midst of that transition,